Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the E.N.G. Media Podcast. We have a very exciting guest, Peter with Nearshore Cyber. For those of you just joining the podcast, I am Christian Gannon, the co-founder of E.N.G. Media, and we specialize in helping software and tech companies scale their revenue. If you want to learn how to take your software tech business to the next level, make sure to stick around. So let's get right into it. I understand Nearshore Cyber helps companies build secure, scalable software faster by combining top engineering talent with a collaborative nearshore model. Your team bridges speed and security, offering full cycle development, DevSecOps, and ongoing support so clients can innovate and deliver with confidence. Can you share more about your business, the services you offer, and your role within it?
Yeah, so it starts with 28 years in cyber and a few more in IT. I ran other people's businesses for most of that time, and about 3 years ago, I decided I couldn't resist the urge to start a company. I thought staff and recruiting would be so easy and so simple. I was wrong, but I love it. I love doing it. I'm based in Oaxaca, Mexico, which is toward the south.
Hmm.
The Our clients are in the States, a little bit in Latin America, but we try and do the nearshore thing, hence the name. But we also operate in places like Philippines, Little India, Greece, and we do occasionally, when it comes to particularly dev and AI, recruit out of the States. But we're very practitioner first. That's one of the things that makes us different.
100%. And how did the idea come about? I know that you said you had run other people's companies for a while and then you got started about 3 years ago with Nearshore. What gap in the market did you really see that made that push to say, this is the time and I want to do it right now?
No surprise, most recruiters are terrible.
I have heard, yes.
Um, I had worked with some really, really good ones. I used to
Mhm.
work for a company called Optiv. I built the SIM practice there, which is like security monitoring tech. I ran an engineering team that I built from 8 to 49 people in 2.5 years.
That's
And
awesome.
most of those people I brought in through really great recruiters.
Hmm.
Um, and one of whom I gave a start to as an independent. I got her out of the place where she was, which was not particularly healthy, and I help her get started. And the other one was an old timer who has since kind of retired, but I was always impressed by how he knew my business so well. And I would call and say, "Hey, I need X," and he's like, "Yeah, I know. I got three of those right now. I've heard about it from your people." And he would keep in touch with the people he'd placed with me and with the market and my peers in the company and in the industry. And he knew my business in some respects better than I did. And so when um, uh, the big sort of wave of sort of like the peak of cyber, I think it's the last peak, occurred about three
Hmm.
years ago. I thought, well, I need to start something. Age discrimination is becoming a problem. The remote stuff is going away. I better get on it and start a company. And I decided I wanted to be like them,
Hmm.
like the people I admired. The other thing that I wanted to do was continue to recruit for other people the way I recruited for me. Like I do tech interviews. Recruiters
Hmm.
don't do technical interviews. I do them.
Hmm.
I don't know why you would hire someone and not have them do technical interviews, but this is one of the reasons that we can provide like the right talent in like three submissions. Most of my clients, they take the first one I sent. Like they don't,
That's
and
awesome.
whereas my competition, they'll send like 30 resumes and they're all garbage
Hmm.
because they don't go into the same kind of depth we do. They don't focus the way we do. We only do cyber, and if we do development, it's related to cybersecurity somehow. Lately, we're pushing really hard onto AI, which is runs counter to what a lot of the security people are saying. But I'm just like, these are where the problems are that we're solving. So we're going to be in it, and we're going to be in it directly and nose to nose with the problems, so that we can solve them better than anybody else can. And there are a few of us who are wise to AI and see it
Hmm.
as creating a new set of opportunities, whereas the rest of security is like, just don't do it. I'm like, come on, everyone's going to
That
do this.
definitely that definitely makes sense. And I wanted to touch on something that you mentioned, which was those technical interviews, right, with some of these
Mhm.
people that you're trying to place. Do you think that the issue is maybe that other recruiters don't have the ability to do that, or the understanding of the industry to be able to have or conduct a technical interview that really brings out what's in that candidate?
Well, most recruiters are focused on being, you know, selling recruiting services or doing
Hmm.
like a lot of it. They comes from a focus on compliance. Um, there's a huge emphasis on recruiting as a numbers game, which fails.
Right.
If everybody wants everybody wants their problems solved, not half solved. Getting a bunch of resumes gets quarter of the problem solved. But what we do is uh, we really work on two markets and two different types of strategy. One is kind of a B2C approach,
Of
and
course.
that's branding. We are very good at branding. So we operate a community of practice with over 2,000 people. We do education. We do training. A lot of it is answering questions I have. Like we every Tuesday we meet and have demonstrations of AI products that people built.
Hmm.
We talk about security, but it's mostly about like creativity and like finding problems and fleshing them out and the various tools that are around and stuff like that. But it's about like bringing out the talent, the curiosity people were born with and have like smashed out of them. We're just trying to bring it back,
Hmm.
and to create value. So we do stuff like that. We used to do instant response, cybersecurity instant response games, like we would simulate a breach, and we would, I would run the English ones in the United States and APAC and occasionally EMEA, and then we had another series in Spanish. And it was all for free. We had fun doing it. It was a lot of work. It's a ton of work.
Right. Oh, I
But
bet.
I could put on an event that had like 600 people on it, right? And
That's
so
awesome.
we would have buyers of talent like CISOs and incident responders and
Hmm.
managed detection response vendors. And we also mostly would have practitioners or people who wanted to be practitioners. And
Hmm.
so that's the other side. That's more like a B2C marketing approach. So we had to do both. Most recruiters focus exclusively on on the talent buyers, but they use
Hmm.
direct response marketing, which is stupid.
Hmm.
I receive a ton of this stuff. I'm just like, seriously, you think you're going to get my business if I were a buyer? Like, no.
Right.
Instead, they should be using that sort of like direct response with the candidate side. But the problem is they don't like the candidates. That like cybersecurity people are my people. I
Hmm.
am them, they are me. Like we're part of the same tribe in the
Right.
Seth Godin sense. But the tribes of buyers and sellers kind of intersect, and we manage the intersection. We cultivate the intersection. We build relationships across that, and it, we built up enough goodwill in the market that a lot of the time people come to me and they're like, "I don't know what you sell, but I want to help. What can I buy from you?"
Right.
So
100%. And I
yeah.
think that's like a conversational selling almost, right? Like I'm investing in the who, not how it's done, right? Because I know that person, I know how they're going to get it done, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes a lot longer ways than someone that maybe might put up more numbers at the end of the day. Because, like we said, it's not necessarily a game of numbers; it's a game of
Well,
relationships and long-term planning.
the best number is one.
Right.
If I'm looking for
100%.
if I'm looking for people, I don't want to see high volume. I want to see one.
Right.
And most of the time, the first person that we send over is it, and then the client will be like, I need two more because I'm supposed to do
Hmm.
like more than one. I can't just take the one. And occasionally they'll take the second one, but they
Hmm.
rarely get to number three. And
That's
it's
awesome.
very unless I'm recruiting a team,
Hmm.
that's it. Now process is important because people want to know like, how do you actually do this? And it's like, well, for one thing, we have a kind of flywheel. Like we're always recruiting for something somewhere, and we
Hmm.
will get ahead of the market. So if somebody said, I think I'm going to need F5 people in a couple of months, I will start reaching out to the people in the F5 world
Hmm.
and invite them to stuff. I'm just like giving free
Right.
stuff away. And my partner is also my esposa here. Like she does the same stuff. We use a lot of like LinkedIn automation, which
Hmm.
you're not supposed to do, but we do it. Um, but building like we have a very high degree of awareness in the market, and some people think we're specialists. Really weird. Like we went to B-Sides Mexico City last week. We had a meetup
Hmm.
that we put on. I thought 10 people would come. We had 47. The bar was a little
That's
miffed.
awesome.
It was crazy, and it was
I can
free.
imagine.
It was like people had to buy their own drinks. There was no program. It was just a bunch of people
Right.
getting together who had never met in person before meeting in person. The next day, we went to B-Sides Mexico City. I don't know how many people were there, but people kept coming up to me and Laura, my partner, and asking to take pictures with us and saying like, "We're big fans." I'm like, "Big fans? Like, I'm not Ozzy. yet,
Right.
right? I'm just a dude who won't shut up and who cares
Mhm.
about, you. And there are these two souls of our business. There is tech and AI, very very much leaning on AI. But then I see AI as creating opportunities to amplify humanity, and um, give people who have like high agency more power to use their
Right.
human agency and creativity. And we do that every day. Like I'm constantly doing something with AI, mostly around documentation and research and ideation. Sometimes it's mechanical. Like I use ChatGPT to like rewrite resumes all the time. It's good at it. It's really good,
Hmm.
right? But what that frees me up to do is things like put on a bunch of meetups in Mexico City and Guadalajara and Atlanta and Dallas and Orange County and get people together in person. And I don't even have to go. That's most of the
Right.
time. So,
And I think you mentioned something that was important in relation to AI, and this is a trend that I'm starting to see with people that are using it well, is that I don't use AI to do the things that I need to think through and the things that need human touch. It's the stuff so that I can
mhm.
free myself up so I can go do the human touch things, like you said, like the meetups. Or for an example, this podcast today. If I didn't use AI this morning to write some stuff out that I need to get done, I wouldn't have the time to run the podcast, right? And I think that's a huge advantage that a lot of people are missing out on right now.
Mhm. Well, and there's the transcription and the auto clip
Mm-hmm.
generation and the correction of various kinds. People don't realize like AI and ML have been around for a long time, particularly in
They have.
security. Like the basis of the best detection in security is like 12-year-old machine learning. They don't even know
Hmm.
it's there. They're like, I'm not touching AI. I'm like, too late,
Yeah.
way too late. You're already doing it. But on the point of like, uh, the things like writing and creating, one of the things that AI does for me, your
Hmm.
mileage may vary, but every time I have something that scares me, some concept or some question that frightens me, like I hate contracts. My eyes are actually not very good.
Hmm.
And so I'm always prone to screw up contracts. So I hesitate to start making a template or doing a quote or something like that. So I pay attention to the task that needs to be done and the feeling of hesitation and like fear and anxiety. And before it takes over, I start collaborating with usually Claude or ChatGPT, sometimes um, one of the others. But the key is I can like start, see it produce something, and feel
Hmm.
good because it's like, wow, it just made something that I can review that's better than what
Right.
I could create. And yeah, I have to revise, I have to like edit it and critique it and give it feedback and say like, remove this, it's never perfect. But I've
No.
had interns. I've worked with the humans, and the humans will spend 3 days on something that I then have to spend a half a day revising.
Hmm.
And so I don't mind when AI screw up because the screw up doesn't burn 2 days for me.
Right.
It will burn a half an hour of me like, turning on text to speech and listening and go, they just made that up. That's like
Hmm.
that's a I mean, AIs hallucinate. That's how they work, but that's a bad
Right.
hallucination. And I can go
Hmm.
back and say, "Did you make that up?" And we'll go, "Oops, sorry," like literally something like that. And or I can do things like take a document that something produced and run it back and say, "Please double check this." And most of the time, it'll be like, this could be better. It'll make its own corrections, or I can send it to another model and say, "Could you improve this?" And I do this kind of like AI tennis where I'll start with one or I'll create a document. Um, like I might build something in Claude, which is usually my favorite for writing, and I'll run it, I'll check it in like OpenAI ChatGPT 4.0
Hmm.
with maybe put in deep research mode and say, make this better, or what would you suggest I do with this?
Hmm.
And another thing that I often do is before again, when I start to sense the anxiety in myself, like I don't really want to do this.
Right.
Um, if I don't know where to start, I'll say, I need to do this. Tell me what questions I need to answer for you so that you can complete it. In the same way that if I were working with a subordinate or a partner, like a human partner
Hmm.
or a colleague, I would say, well, what do I need to tell you so that you can complete this task? I just do the same thing with it, and it'll like give me a list of questions and topics, and I'll basically questionnaire, and I answer it, and I'll send it back in, and I'll say like anything else, and it might be like, nope, I'm good, I'm making it, I'm making your document, right?
Hmm.
So when we treat these things as not just like assistants, but as collaborators, and work with the AIs, the AI tools, the agents instead, it's just a lot more fun, and it addresses the very serious problem of fear. It doesn't take it
Hmm.
away, but it basically. And I posted about this recently. Like I said, use AI as a foil against fear. The foil doesn't take
Hmm.
it away; it just sort of holds it off a little bit. And then
Definitely.
I can take that fear and use it as energy to push farther.
100%. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's so important right now in this day and age and leveraging it in the sense of there's a lot of tasks, especially as founders and CEOs and business owners, that we didn't think we would have to do, right? There's so many things that I do every day and probably you that's
Mm-hmm.
like, I have no idea where to start on this. And I couldn't imagine 10 years ago using Google or Bing to try and search those answers and taking 3 hours, 4 hours of research when I can get at least a blueprint that I can go
Yeah.
off of to kind of get started, right?
And the complaints about plagiarism are hilarious. Considering
Hmm.
before AI, we just plagiarized things directly.
Right.
Now we have an intermediary doing it. We're still using each other's work product. I mean, the humans are
Hmm.
always copying.
100%.
I wrote a quote yesterday for a client, or last night, and I took the the vendor's quote and an example of what I done for somebody else, which I also use for AI. I upload both to my ChatGPT Teams tenant, and the Teams one, there's like a $30 one, so I have a $20 one that's actually where
Mhm.
they don't use what you give them for model training. It's very explicit, so I think they're actually on the level. I upload both, and I say, okay, make a quote for this vendor quote using that example, and remove this thing because it doesn't apply, and add this other thing because it's different. It gives me the thing. I say, okay, take this out, remove this column, and format it more simply so I can paste it into a Word document,
Mhm.
into a template. And I got it done in like 45 minutes because I'm slow. If I were fast, like I'm not fast, but if I were fast, I could probably do it in 15. And then after that, I created a custom GPT with some samples and with some
Mhm.
instructions and the variables. And I said, hey, make a template and then make a list of the variables so that I can put this into, so I can create a custom GPT, because they know how to configure themselves. You just have to ask.
Right.
I mean, that's one of the great things about this. Is like, people are like, how do I learn how to use AI? I'm like, ask it.
Yeah.
And well, what I ask you say exactly what you said to me. How do I use AI to the AI? And you can
Mhm.
create tailored learning plans and exercises and projects and quizzes.
Mhm.
And then if you really want to get fancy, you can say, make me an app that I can use to test myself, and load it with 1,000 questions. And please don't hallucinate. You can
Mhm.
say don't hallucinate, like don't make anything up. And so
Mhm.
like every tool you could imagine becomes available without a ton of work. Now there's some things they're not good at. Like they're not good at authentication and systems. So like Replit created one. You can just like slam in, and Replit costs like $90 a month for the paid version.
Right.
So for the things that they don't do well, you can say, "Are you good at?" And they, probably tell you like, "Hey, I'm not that great at that. You might want to look at a third party product."
Right. And it's just like we said earlier, it's just like with people. There's going to be people that have very skilled areas in some areas, and some areas they're not, right? And that's the same with AI. And there's a lot more skilled areas than one human being with AI.
Mm-hmm.
But like an example is I was trying to build an algorithm because I trade in the mornings and I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
build out an algorithm to automate it, but it doesn't know the language for the trading platform that I use. So it's like, okay,
Mm.
so then there's disconnect here. So go to the other two like Perplexity or Claude and see if it has more information. Or teaching it, like that's the other part. Like if you're treating it like a human and you're training it, you can also train it to understand the language that it needs to be speaking when it comes to coding as well. Now for authentication, as you said, that's a very tough problem to tackle, especially for chats models
Yeah.
right now at least.
Yeah. And will they get better at it? Yeah, I expect they
Yeah.
will. But right now they're not good at AIs are not good at taking like the vibe coded stuff, and
Right.
like databases like Supabase. not good for enterprise. Like they're just not. Or like, so there's opportunity for professionals who are now freaking out like AI is going to, it's funny, people will say, AI suck. They're not good at doing stuff. And then they're like, but it's going to take my job. Like one of these is true and the other is not. It turns out they're both correct. And that there are things that they're not good at, and the same way the people are not good at. But the AIs will improve like as a class and rapidly, whereas humans develop at different rates in different ways. So, like if you're in IT, particularly if you're in security, you just have to look at like what's the next step in terms of what people are doing, like what are the use cases, and where do the AIs fall short? And one area is enterprise. Another is established enterprise software and applications. Like anybody can build an application right now with something like Lovable or, Claude or Manus. But can you take that to scale it into an organization that already has sort of like established enterprise? Like if you're running a bunch of Oracle, spending $10 million on that every year, like you're not going to vibe code around that. But there are people, if you're experiencing that, if you know how to do like authentication, if you know how to do real software architecture, the opportunities are expanding rapidly because of all these people who like product managers are the kings right now and they don't even know it. Like if you can take a problem, figure out the requirements, and I don't mean like write a PRD, I mean like really figure out the requirements. You can take a product to market, like a prototype to market in a week and test it in another week and start selling it over another week and then start making decisions about like, do I spend $100 a day advertising this thing? And maybe you do that for another week. You spend $500. It's probably spent $50 to $100 on the tools. And you've gotten through a complete development tests and product market fit cycle in 4 to 6 weeks. And then you can decide like, do I drop this thing? Or do I go hire people who know how to scale?
Right.
And then the people who know how to scale, they're going to be able to work much faster so they can actually handle more products and more projects. So you can charge less, deliver more, make more money, create more value, lower risk, all that stuff.
And I definitely think that's a trend we're seeing, especially in the agentic space, is a lot of kind of trials almost. Like you get credits to try it out. And that was something that maybe was unbeknownst before, especially at that level of the demo. Like you might get a demo for a product or a software that you're going to use, but not at the level where I can actually use it for like a month for free and actually see if I want to use it. And I think it works a lot better than the old model.
But you can run N8N locally or Flow or Langflow or whatever locally for free. You're just left with bunch of building. And if you don't know how to do it, you can ask. You can say like, write me a course. I mean, I'm fond of spending $9 on courses that run 15, 20 hours on Udemy. There's a guy named Arnie. It's like German guy. He's hilarious. I like his courses a lot, but I'm actually getting to the point where I'm using the AIs to create exercises and tutorials for me instead of going to Arnie's course. Sorry, Arnie, your stuff's great. But like the one of the great advantages we have right now is, people are complaining, well, if you automate out the junior positions, what do the junior people do? Well, the junior people are in a position to learn faster, cheaper than ever before. And if they get together with their friends, this is why we do meetups. This is what the community is for. If you get together with other people and build together, you can learn faster, learn collaboratively, dispel the fear, stay on track, get through the hard stuff, and publish. And then you don't even need certifications anymore. Like the professional certifications were always sort of baloney. Trying to keep this PG rated. Yeah. They're always nonsense. You know where I want to say. But it doesn't matter if you have how much, it matters less what experience you have. Now, you still have to have experience in the real world because so much of what we learn comes in meetings that we're invited to where we don't talk, we just listen. It's in like being in an office and seeing people how people comport themselves. Like I'm a big fan of work from home. Frankly, most people can't handle it. They need to be in an office. Yeah. So what you can do though is you can take the technical content and the business content and the domain content, use the AIs to like get a head start. And then also go back to them, ask the questions that you're afraid to ask people. Like so much progress is blocked by people's fear of looking stupid. And the the AI tools, they don't care. They love the dumb questions.
Right, 100%. Those are the ones that they're easiest for him to answer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but
So I mean,
and
anytime I have a question now, like the slightest question, I'm like, I'll see like an object in some product, like some term, and I'm like, I wonder what that is. Now, at one time I would just wonder. I would drop and I would forget it, and I wouldn't get the answer. And now I've trained myself, and there's a certain amount of like habit formation that has to be created deliberately. Anytime I have a question, I don't stuff it away or forget it. I go directly to some LLM and say, what is this? And explain more. And I might say, that's interesting, explain it more. And if I really feel like I need to know it, I'll say, make me a 15-minute tutorial so I can get a little hands-on with that. And usually it can do it. So the learning gets accelerated like massively.
Definitely, and I couldn't agree more. There's so many things too, just even outside of business, right? On a personal level, things that you're interested in or hobbies that you have, and it's so easy to get advanced in those subject matters so quickly if you take the time and build the habit, right? Like for me, I had chat build me out a meal plan for the gym. Like I don't know how to do a meal plan. I don't want to go pay a nutritionist even if I don't know if that's the right thing, but then go through the process. Okay, why is it this calorie counter? Why are these macros getting involved? And what if I switch this? And now I have a firm understanding, but I wouldn't have had to understand unless I asked the question and got started, right? And I think that's the biggest thing with anything.
Well, there are more opportunities there for product development. Like I do the same thing.
Right.
Like one point I went to Perplexity, I put in a deep research mode, and I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I like to eat. This is what I don't like to eat. These are what my macros want to look like. I don't like broccoli. I do like ground beef. Keep the carbs low. But my kid likes this and my wife likes that. Give me a shopping list for 2 weeks. And then I said, find the prices in Oaxaca de Juarez at Chedraui, which is like kind of nice grocery chain, and Walmart. We do most of our shopping at Walmart, grocery store. And give me the prices, estimate the ones you don't have, mark what you have and what you guessed. Give me a budget so I know how much to hit the ATM for. This is pretty close. Now, what I don't have is an integration with, there's a thing called AnyList. And AnyList is like Tracker. There's no integration at this point, but I anticipate that once the computer use agents are better, because it doesn't have an API, I can say, all right, take this document and fill in AnyList on the website and, wait for like 6 hours. But then I don't have to, because I did it by hand. It was like miserable. I did like copy paste, right? But I could show like whatever tool, like this is me doing it. Here's my example. Here's the source file. There's the destination. You do it. And now I can go back to work.
Right. It's one less thing to worry about and take off that mental headspace, right? And everything that we can do that for, that we can leverage AI to do, I don't see why not.
Yep. Well, and I'll eat better, have less stress, drive to fewer stores, know what my substitutions are, and then the next thing, of course, I can do is I can say, okay, now make the. Oh, actually, I started with a meal plan. So make me a keto-ish meal plan, keto-ish, right?
Right.
Or like modify Atkins, and I work backward from that, and now I can say, all right, give me like my macro counts, my proteins, my carbs, blah blah blah, and then at the end I can have my housekeepers, because we have those here in my country, take a picture of the thing you're about to put in front of me, and have it estimate what if the macros are accurate. Like, is there too much tilapia on my plate or not enough?
Right.
Like that becomes possible. I actually hadn't even thought about it until now. But one of the skills that we start to develop when we use AI enough is a kind of builder's imagination.
Right. 100%.
Right.
100%.
I pay money for that, by the way. You want to build that? I'll spend $5 a month on it.
No, there's an app I actually use, and I'm not associated with them at all. It's called Macro Factor. You can take pictures just like you said, and it'll tell you break down all the carbs, all the ingredients. Like I had a salad yesterday. I don't want to log everything that salad had, and I took a picture. It knew everything in about 2 minutes. It's probably off 10 or 20 calories, but that's not going to make or break my calorie bank,
Yeah.
right? Or my
Well,
eating cycle or whatever it may be.
and
So
it can't be worse than doing it by eyeballs.
right,
Like
exactly,
humans
exactly.
suck at most things.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, like, I'm never going to be accurate. Like, I can't guess people's weights. I can't
Mhm.
guess people's ages, and I can't remember names. If I didn't see Christian there, I wouldn't know who you are. Right. Um, and yes, there are problems with accuracy with AI, but
Mm,
they're getting better all the time.
100%.
And so if we think back to like ChatGPT 3.5 or
Mhm.
before that 2,
Right.
it's pretty, like, the trajectory is amazing.
That's
And
insane.
the limiting factor becomes, what if I hooked up the camera estimator with any list and blah, blah, blah. Like, integration is everything
Mhm.
right now, because there's like little solitary siloed apps for all sorts of stuff, but they don't talk to each other. Getting them to
Right.
talk to each other is the thing. Security may or may not show up. Like, do I really care if people know what my macros are or
No.
what my weight is? I don't
No.
care. Somebody might,
Right.
but if I connect that to like my health records from like that I scan in from my doctor's visit, if I ever went to the
Mhm.
doctor, I might care. I
I
might
would
not.
probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And it kind of depends. And given the amount of surveillance there is in the world, like,
Mhm.
changes everybody's risk profile. So
Mhm.
if you're in security, what you have to do is get really clear about what matters, what doesn't matter. Like, we had a meeting last night, where we demoed stuff, and there's a guy who's like security guy, and he's like, well, are you worried how do you deal with the security of these things and the accuracy? I'm like, well, for most things I don't. I'm mostly just doing ideation, and I
Mhm.
will like spitball about ideas in a crowded room of unfriendly people and not care. That's
Mhm.
kind of how you have to see the internet. When it matters, these are the decisions I have to start making.
Mhm.
Um, but like, security becomes a matter of like assessing what people really care about. Like, it's all requirements. Everything is requirements in the world.
Right.
What do I want? What do I not want? What can I afford? What can I not afford? What risks am I willing to take on? What am I not willing to take on? And when and how and for what and until. Right? I build a product that I'm going to use for myself. Totally different risk profile than if I offer it to one other person, because then I have to worry
Mhm.
about the risk with them. And then if I start charging for it, I might go way up. And I might actually
Mhm.
like pull features back and say, like, I'm just not willing to take that risk for something I'm selling.
Right. 100%. And in this landscape that we kind of talked about around AI and risk, what's making it more challenging or maybe easier to operate in for nearshore overall?
Mm, the hard part is the problem we've always had. There are an awful lot of people who just treat work as something they're entitled to.
Mhm.
Most people don't know how, and this is something I get, I had an intuition about, but was crystallized by listening to Alex Hormozy. He says most people don't know how to work.
Mhm.
They don't know how to expend effort. I'm lucky in that my parents were teachers and musicians, and I remember like helping my dad schlep speakers to gigs and playing, in June they would have like 5-6 gigs a week.
Mhm.
Thursday, Friday, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and like humping like enormous equipment. Like, you haven't really suffered until you've hauled a Rhodes 88 key piano 12 times in one weekend.
Mhm.
Um, by the way, they're like gigantic electric keyboards,
Mhm.
electric pianos. They don't make anymore, but um, I learned how to work, and um, I bring that sort of that skill to everything that matters, and some things that don't matter, right?
Mhm.
But most people, they sort of sweep walk through life, and insecurity. Like, for 15 years, if you could spell cyber and fog a mirror, you could make 6 figures, no problem. And
Mhm.
so we attracted a lot of people who really don't care. And
Mhm.
what they just want is a paycheck. And then when the paycheck gets threatened or taken away, they're like, they blame the world. And okay, fine, like blame the world, but that doesn't do you any good. How about you get to work and demonstrate how how you do helps solve people's problems. And a lot of the time, that's the problem is somebody needs to make money because they have a target. They need to
Right.
they need to make payroll. They have a sales number. They have a profitability number. If it's an NGO, they have a mission to fulfill. How does what you do get the people who control the money what they need? Most people don't have the foggiest idea that that's even a thing. And so, like 9 out of 10 people in cybersecurity really shouldn't be there. I mean, I've interviewed 2,000 people roughly over the past 2 years. This is an estimate, or 3 years. Before that, I interviewed a whole lot of other people, management people. And about a third of my interviews end in, I'm not sure you should be in this industry. Why are you here? And it's like, well, I thought the money would be good. And, it looked prestigious. And it's like, it's not prestigious and it doesn't pay that well unless you are really serious and you've been at this for 10, 15 years and devoted yourself to it and sacrificed. Anything really that pays well requires sacrifice. And the more you want to make, the more you have to sacrifice for more time. And there are no guarantees you're actually going to get there. So what do you do? You commit to the joy that comes from expending effort and seeing good things come into the world, or not. But in any case, you got to do the damn work. So that's the problem I have. I'm like constantly on the lookout for people who exhibit candor and joy. First meeting of the interview, first interview I had today, guy who was like giving me a bunch of nonsense and clearly did not actually enjoy the work. He was just making stuff up. And I basically ended the interview early. I'm just like, I can't do anything with you. You're not honest. You have a character problem. And people are like, aren't you afraid you're going to get sued? I'm like, that's just my opinion. It's a really good opinion. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
100%. And I will tell people the honest truth. And sometimes, and then I had another one after that, and the guy was really flubbing the interview. He was not doing well. But I could tell that he simply hadn't been interviewed by someone who understood the work. He'd been interviewed by professional interview. He'd been interviewed by recruiters. And most managers actually don't know what they're managing. So they don't know how to interview either. I know that's one of the things we do that's different. It's like, I know what the work is better than most of the managers do. Even good managers, right? They don't know how to interview. They know the work, or they haven't defined it yet. A lot of the time you're hiring in a position where you're hiring into something that hasn't been defined because no one's done it in that organization before. So you don't really know what to interview for. So that was a case where I could tell this guy was really serious about the work, really serious, and knew the high level and knew the frameworks and knew the processes. And he just hadn't practiced talking about the nitty gritty. So I'm like, all right, suppose you had to train your replacement for a month. What would you do? And he starts talking about, well, I would do playbooks. I'm like, what playbook? Right. More detail, more detail, more detail. Show me that you've been as Gary Vee likes to say, in the dirt. I work in the dirt. I don't enjoy interviews anymore. I used to love them. I don't enjoy them anymore. The more I do them, the more difficult they feel and the less fun they are. Occasionally I get when I'm like, I find my people, I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to be friends. But it's like 1 in 20.
That's a crazy statistic.
Yeah. So I invite them to AI stuff. I invite them to events. I say, here's your chance to become you. I want you to be more you. And if it turns out that you don't belong in cyber, 3 years ago, I interviewed this. I was just doing research. I didn't even have a job posted. And I was interviewing folks to get used to it, to learn how to do it. And I talked to this guy, and we were talking about film, just in the sort of warm up. And it turns out we both have a love for the films of Andrei Tarkovsky, made Solar, and like particularly a thing called Stalker, which is not about a stalker, but anyway, watch it. It's like 4 hours, but
okay.
And then we start doing the tech interview, and I'm like, you know what? And I just aborted the interview. I'm like, what do you really want to do, Carlos? I think his name was Carlos, and he said, well, I really want to be a filmmaker. He lives in Mexico City, and I'm like, well, why don't you do that? Is it? Well, there's a lot of competition. I'm like, well, then you just have to be better at the competition. Like, there are people with those jobs. There are people with these jobs. And even if you manage to pull the wool over somebody's eyes and get a job in cyber, you won't succeed really. You might be able to make money. You might be able to do a good job, but will you really feel satisfied when what you really wanted to do was make movies? He hit me up about 6 months ago, about 2.5 years later, and he said, "Hey, I want to thank you for telling me the truth. I got a job on a film crew." I'm like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm a gaffer." I'm like, "I don't know what that is, but like, you did it." I'm like, "You made it happen." I think they walk around with tape and they tape stuff down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was in film for a while, just like I
yeah,
dabbled in it and I enjoyed it. I wasn't at the level by that, but I do know what a gaffer is. I did
yeah.
take some courses on it.
But he was on he had a job with a film production company in
Hmm.
Mexico City, and I'm
That's awesome.
like, that's what we want. Like, we got to get
Right.
people in the right spots, but still, like, people have to learn what hard work feels like,
Definitely.
and just like, because if you don't work hard, like, you're screwed.
Definitely. And I think I kind of had a similar experience growing up. My dad was a musician as well. He played guitar. He would go play gigs too. And
Mm,
I'd have to do the same thing. And maybe not as big as the piano you're talking about, but I understood that. And I think the problem that it really roots down to is validation. Where do you seek validation, right? Is it in the amount of money you make or is it in the work that you do? Because that's what's going to really be the deciding
yeah.
factor and what drives you, I think. But
Yeah, and it could change, and a lot of people will make up stories about what motivates them because they're embarrassed to say what the real reason is. Like, for me, all I want to do is not be poor. I'm trying
right.
to run as far from present or future or past poverty as possible.
Hmm.
So I know that I'm not going to do that as a bond salesman, which is
Right.
like you want to make real money, go to Wall
Hmm.
Street and sell bonds.
Hmm.
I'm not going to make it, in illegal ways because I have this dread fear of prison.
Hmm.
And I have family and I love them. And I want to make them proud. I start with where I am. And where I am is, I had a career in cybersecurity, doing cybersecurity things. I was pretty good part of the time, and part of the time I sucked, but I kept at it. And so eventually, like, I built up a brand and I built up a reputation. And I acquired a bunch of skills, and some of them transfer in, like being able to interview people. I still do some consulting here and there. Like, I'm consulting with a software development shop around AI and SecOps. I'm having a great time. Um, but my goal really is to, I want insurance against an economic collapse. That means I got to
Hmm.
make a bunch of money and squirrel it away in a foreign bank account, having paid taxes on it. I'm not tax
Hmm.
evasion. Um, and that's good. Now, once I'm at that point, my motivations are going to change.
Of
Um,
course.
but a lot of people are just like, I just want to please my parents. I
Hmm.
want to look cool to my friends. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to hear is, I hear this all the time. Well, I got hacked once. I'm like, yeah, everybody does. Or I want to help people. I'm like, well, you want to help people? Go into nursing. Go into early childhood education. That's helping people. You want
Hmm.
to help people? The world needs better waiters and a lot of them. Like, do
Hmm.
that. I'm working with a guy right now. A guy who's become a friend. He's like a really excellent pen tester and application security assessment
Hmm.
hand. He cannot get work. There's very little work for such people right now. Well, may or may not come back. And he's out of money. I'm like, have you thought of like going to? He lives in Mexico. He's like not from here, so his English is really good. I'm like, have you thought about going to one of the hotels and applying to be a front desk clerk or a porter or being a waiter? Like, English is money here.
Right.
And he's like, well, I want to work for. I'm like, you're out of money, dude. Like, go make money.
Hmm.
You live in a country that is filled with people who are mostly earning a living, not doing IT.
Right.
And people are just like are so badly inhibited by expectations of others people's expectations.
Hmm.
And in the end, it's like, maybe you'll have an IT career again, maybe you won't. And if you do or not, someday you're going to have a story. And that story is going to have in it the low points, and the low points make the high points look all the higher.
100%. And I think going back to helping people, I think it might not be just waiters and servers in my mind. I think it's more of a sense of what does that actually look like? Like a lot of people just say it, but what does that mean? Like, why do you believe so much that that's your motivation? Okay, so Why
hmm
do you, what help are you actually giving people? Are you doing it? Are you helping people for the money? Are you helping it for another reason? Or is it because you genuinely care? Because the people that care are the nurses, right? Like what you talked about, or the waiters, the really good
Yeah.
waiters and servers and people that
Yeah.
interact. So
Yeah.
it's a very
Well, and it's
interesting
just,
point.
the point was to kind of do a reset. Like
Hmm.
if you don't know how to help people,
Right.
go help people and
Right.
then see how it feels and see what you're good at. Ultimately, like I do what I do because I think I'm more effective
Hmm.
at helping people and making money as um, the head of a cybersecurity staff recruiting company that does some blah 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 on the side, and
Hmm.
also building a community than I could as just an engineer or as just like I don't know whatever the other things I could do.
Hmm.
Seems to be what I'm able. I'm actually. I look at this as a way of magnifying my goodwill, and then I get goodwill back, and it's this
Hmm.
virtuous cycle where like I put on an event and I invite people to speak and contribute, and I don't charge anybody for it, and I pay for the community. It costs me like $240 a month.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes people pitch in money. Like somebody sent me $250 one time because I was like, what's it cost? I'm like, about $250. He's like, huh. And like a couple hours later, I get a transfer. I'm like, where'd that come from? He's like, I believe in what you're doing. Right. And
Hmm.
I want to help. Right. And so when people come to me and they're like, can you help me get a job? I'm like, can you help someone else get a job? Can you help someone else learn? And they're like, well, I don't have anything to offer. I'm like, why would I help someone get a job if they don't know how to create value on their own?
Right.
Like this is all auditions all the time.
Hmm.
And I have people, there's this guy, my friend Victor. Victor came along a couple of years ago because he heard we were doing a CISSP study course, not a boot camp. It took 44 weeks. We just used the framework because I was finding a bunch of people who know the basics. I'm like, let's put on a course and we'll do it in English, then we'll do it in Spanish, and we'll alternate weeks. So he taught some of the Spanish ones.
Hmm.
He had failed the CISSP year before. He didn't have one, but he
Hmm.
wanted to teach because he knew that teaching is one of the best ways to learn. He did. He passed it. He crushed it. Right? A
Hmm.
lot of people fail the first time. They come back a year later, they do it again. And because he did that, I hired him to deliver an engagement. He crushed it. And I knew he would because he was willing to help people for free with an incomplete set of knowledge about CISP. Like, that's what I want.
Right.
And when I find people like Victor, um, and Victor, if you're listening to this, like this is where I find my friends. My friends are people who will take what I give and amplify it to 10 people or 100 people or 1,000
Hmm.
people. Um,
That makes a
no
lot of
one,
sense.
it won't. I mean, in the end, it won't matter, right? People forget us as quickly as they find us. But I know it.
Hmm.
I know I did it. I know what happened, and it's kind of. I'm like, it's funny because I'm ordinary. I'm a completely ordinary person.
Hmm.
All I do is show up.
I think that's the big differentiator, and I think it goes unnoticed. And that's the thing that if you show up every day, especially when you don't want to, that's what's the difference maker, I think, in success from a
Yeah.
lot of people we've talked to across the board.
Well, and making promises and keeping them.
Yes, of
Like
course.
I used to be a sales engineer. I wasn't very good, but my boss said one of his tips was in any meeting, make sure that you leave with a to do,
Hmm.
leave with an action item that you have to follow up on with the client or the prospect. And he said, by doing the follow up, and make sure you're gonna follow up, like make sure it's
Hmm.
something you can do. But if you follow up, you will put yourself above almost everyone because most people don't follow up. Most people
Hmm.
don't take initiative. So, the on Friday I had a meeting with the CEO of a potential client. I follow up with the COO, and she said, I heard, sounds like a great. I'm like, I'm going to create an agenda for our next meeting, and I'll send it to you over the weekend. Now it gets to like Sunday night, and I procrastinated my ass off this particular weekend because it was after a conference. And I was tired. I was just like, and I was feeling anxious about it. I'm like, this
Hmm.
matters a lot. I don't want to screw this up.
Right.
So I dive in. I say, okay, make an agenda for this thing, and I'm using like LLMs and like information I have and I don't have. I started with like, what do you need to know? Like the
Hmm.
first question, what do I need to tell you? And I do that. And then I make the agenda. I'm like, you know what? The agenda references like discovery questionnaires. I'm going to do that. So I built those
Hmm.
two. I added on the contract, which they already have in the terms and all this junk. And I sent them this like 16-page document at 2:00 on Monday morning And I don't know, like, will I get the gig or not? I know that I met the terms of my commitment. I did what I said I was going to do, and I didn't just do it. I did a huge amount of effort, and I
Mhm.
created something that I think is pretty great. Like, I would like to get that because I
Mhm.
want to see that kind of rigor and thoroughness and discovery with a recruiting thing.
Of course.
Um, and even if they don't hire us for it, I have this thing I can reuse it and I can retemplatize it, which I did. I'm going to
Mhm.
use it this afternoon with a different client with a different kind of role.
Mhm.
So there's like this compounding effect. This is another Alex Ramosi thing. The idea of you should always be building things that have compounding effects. Like, I
Mhm.
acquire skill, I build documents as tools, I build relationships. This one came from a relationship from my Optiv days. The other one was through, like, I forgot who was referral from somebody who's in
Mhm.
our community who's like, I'm going to refer somebody because I think what you're doing is important and there needs to be more of it in the
Mhm.
world, right? And it just, as it's a snowball, but it's like Sisyphus. You got to push that ball. It doesn't push
Right.
itself. Actually, if you don't push, it goes downhill.
Right.
And you got to push it up again. But, like, that's what I and, like, my tribe are always trying to do. And if you're a member of my tribe, I will help you. And if you're not, like, okay, good luck
Mhm.
out there.
Right. 100%. That makes total sense. And I know that we're coming up on time, but I did have one
Yeah.
more question for you.
Shoot.
It's a fun one, but a tough one. Hypothetically, if you had a magic wand and could solve just one problem within your business, what would that be?
At the moment, I need an accounting of my hours so that, and, like, this is like very tactical, very short term.
Of course.
I need to hire an assistant and have them do a time audit because
Okay.
I don't know where my time is going,
Of course.
and because I tend to be sleep deprived and anxious, and, like, there are toys all over the place for me, right?
Right.
And things that I will fritter away my time with that are low value, and I need somebody to help find the high value stuff so I can work less, so I can get more sleep, so I can make
Mhm.
more money, so I can hire more people. Like, it's like that little
Of
thing
course.
is like lack of time control is my current bottleneck. How's that?
Definitely. I think that's a great answer. Someone asked me this on my last podcast because they flipped the question back to me, and I said I wish there was two or three of me, and I think it's the reason. Like I just feel like I the same way that you do. So
Well, you need leverage. We all
right,
need
exactly.
leverage. AI is leverage that costs very little money. Usually in
Hmm.
business, it's hiring, it's
Right.
employees. Employees, I'm in the employee business. Employees are paying the ass.
Yeah, I know. Just managing is a whole
Yeah,
different landscape that you have to operate in. It's like, and I heard
yeah,
someone from one of the other people on the podcast, and it was like, if they can do 80% of the job, then they're good enough to stay in that position. But I don't know. I feel like it's still very tough to manage that through and through,
yeah,
regardless.
yeah. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have these problems. I would find new problems. I'd probably
Of
find, like,
course.
really bad problems. So,
But
all right.
that makes a lot of sense. But thank you again, Peter. If people want to connect with you or learn more about what Nearshore is doing, where could they go and how could they connect?
LinkedIn. Just Google LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn
Okay,
and search for my last name. I'm really easy to find. And
perfect.
DM.
That sounds perfect. I will leave the links to Peter's LinkedIn in the description of this video, along with their website, if he's okay with that. And then I highly recommend you check out Nearshore and the incredible things they're doing in the space. But other than that, thank you again for Peter for your time and insights today, and we will see you guys on the next podcast.